Lounging, son.
Welcome to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, your friendly neighborhood Dillbot, with my co-host Ryan, for the immortal, eternal, whatever. Anyway, welcome back, guys. This week, our weekly read, The Vision. Dude, I have a habit of taking off slipcovers whenever. I read
of course.
Deluxe.
I'm the same way with you. I
it.
never have the slipcover on when I'm reading a hardcover ever. It's
especially
always
when you read in bed and it's like chilling on your stomach. I don't want that curl to happen. You know what I mean?
I know what you're talking about, because that's what I read. So, yeah, I hate that.
I don't want that curl to happen to the slipcover. And I will be frank, like this is like one of the best like actual legit covers of underneath a slipcover that Marvel has put out. It's the most creative, and the fact that Mike Del Mundo did all the regular covers for the main series and then did this was fantastic.
So let's talk Vision, dude. Let's talk this masterpiece by Tom King, and
that's exactly what it is.
It is. It's a fucking masterpiece. Exactly and Gabriel Walta.
Yeah, Gabriel Walta with, again, Mike Del Mundo during the covers. Like,
oh god, dude, so fucking. Dude, I had to say first of all, I saw Gabriel Walta's work on that Magneto book that he drew with Cullen Bunn, and that was my first intro to his work, and I fucking loved him there. And I think this is such a perfect story for him, because it's not an over the top story. It's, I mean, there's some crazy shit that goes down, but it's somewhat of a quiet story. It's the only way I can kind of I don't know how else to describe it in words, but it's
not bombastic, but
it's very contained in itself. It's not very expansive in terms of the world it takes place within this little town, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I think it's clear, dude. It's how good it is that WandaVision, which is coming out, which is what kind of prompted us to read the book, is taking its cues a little bit from this book. While it's definitely not the same, it's you can definitely see how it's homaging it, and kind of it's inspired by it, loosely inspired by it.
And the thing is, it's the Avengers have never been really interesting to me. Prior to the movies and prior to the new wave of stuff that came out in the 2000s, right?
Prior to Bendis' run, you're saying?
Yeah, prior to Bendis' run.
Okay.
And prior to their entire not recreation, but re-emergence into the spotlight. And quite frankly, Vision and Wanda were not my favorites. Let's be real here. They weren't. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when this came out, I was late to the party when this came out, and I think it was already issue 8 by the time I heard it, how great it was. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Mr. Miracle. Now I try not to miss out on Tom King stuff. But anyway, this self-contained story it's different. It every time I read it, it's different. Especially it's kind of like you know, you're every time you're in different stages of your life and you read something, it's different. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's different. Right now, I'm trying to start a family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So this hit in a different spot for me this time around.
Oh, interesting.
So it's the want for normalcy. I understand that, and I understand the fears of a family not being normal. And then it also brings into question what is normal. And this is just so beautifully portrayed that, man, I feel like I'm going to read this every year now, because I checked my Goodreads. The last time I read it was last February. So.
Oh, weird. Okay. Yeah, it's been longer for me, because I think I bought it I would say right after I moved into this house. So it might have been about almost 3 years ago. I got a gift card for my birthday, and this was the book that I had on my Amazon wish list. That, you know what I mean? I would put stuff on there just in case so I wouldn't forget. And I'm the first thought that came to my mind was I need to get Vision. I need to get this hardcover. I got to read it. And fuck, I was blown away, dude. And by that point, I had already started reading Tom King's Mr. Miracle. So I knew I liked his stuff, and I think he was already on Batman, right? So I was a fan, and this quickly jumped ahead. I mean,
This is my favorite Tom King book.
I would say I like it better than Mr. Miracle. It's different. It's not the same. It's a completely different type of story, and I think pretty much all of Tom King's stories are very different. Even though there's similarities, they completely like there's a different theme and message to each one, right? It's a different feeling or emotion that he's kind of getting out on the page. And I think that like, you know, Mr. Miracle's PTSD and stuff like that. And I think that goes back to his time in the, when he was in the CIA, right? Tom King. And then I think this is more about his family life, right? And being normal. And I would say he almost, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know if he said this anywhere, but I feel like he's putting himself in the Vision character, right? Because he goes away and he's doing what he's doing. And
then his wife is left alone to deal with the family and their issues.
Right.
And,
so like, it's a very deep thing. And I think that that's really cool for you, like for you to say how like you're trying to start a family and like Vision, this is the whole book, is like he's starting a family. You know what I mean? But he's not starting a family in the normal sense. He created these motherfuckers. You know what I mean? Like they're synthesoids.
Like I'm programmed to be 16. I'm programmed to be an adult. Like it's crazy. And it's damn, there's just so much this, even though it's only 12 issues, there's just so much going on in 12 issues that it doesn't feel like it's too much, but there is a lot. Like, you know what I mean?
There is.
The way the story's told and how the pacing of it, everything is just so great about it. I mean, when they talk about Virginia and like her being the mother, especially like early on, like because they get to the meat of what the story is about.
Oh, that shit fucking happens
really
quick.
Fast.
Oh yeah.
They get to the meat of it, like with the whole Grim Reaper thing, and you know, like the extent in which you would go to protect your family. Mm-hmm. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Like at the same time, you don't blame her for the action itself, but it is questionable how she went about it afterwards. Like, you know what I mean? And then
yes, I agree. But at the same time, like I kind of understood her reasoning. I thought because I 100%. She has the human emotion. Like I think I'm right. I could be wrong, but like that stone that had Wanda's like personality in it, I think that he put that in Virginia. I don't know. I could be wrong. Yeah, they never say if she actually does do it. They allude to it, but I think that that's interesting. You know, like that because Wanda, right? And they showed in that issue in the past, Wanda fucking
Wanda's crazy.
You know, she's kind of crazy, dude. So like that made sense in the terms of the character of Virginia and how she goes about stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to lose this train of thought.
No.
What I do like though is like I did have a knowledge of who Vision was, and that he had the memories and the personality of Simon, right? Wonder Man. Yeah. And that's because like my first experience of really reading Avengers comics was after Heroes Return. In '98, I had this pack. It had all the first issues, right? Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, and Fantastic Four. And then I got the hardcover of the first 12 issues of Avengers by George Perez and Kurt Busiek. So, like, I learned about Vision and who, like, because they had, like, all the classic Avengers, right? So I knew that Simon is Vision and that, and all this other shit about, like, the past with Wanda and Vision's relationship. So I knew who Grim Reaper was immediately. They don't tell you right off the bat in this story, but I do like that as the story goes, he gives you everything you need to know. Yeah. About who Vision is,
you need to know.
Relationship with Wanda, like that's why this as a whole is such a great package of a story because you don't need to know shit about it. And I think it's almost better as for like you as a reader who you probably didn't know that much about it. I wish I kind of didn't know because I think that would have been a little bit more interesting as a first time reader.
That's what made it fantastic. My basic knowledge of Vision was that Ultron created him.
Right.
That's my basic knowledge. And then somewhere along the way, he finds sentience and finds a different logic than Ultron. That's it. That's literally what I got from it.
You know what happens? It happens in his first appearance. I got the facsimile of Avengers, I think it's 57, right? With his first appearance. And all of it happens in one issue. And I think it's really interesting, like, to go back and read. If you go back and read that, and then you see, like, how fleshed out Vision was right off the bat. It's amazing. But go ahead.
But like no, it's all good, dude. This is a great book. Interrupt away. But I mean, look at the cover. Family memories.
Yeah.
Just like the desire for normalcy in this is just so crazy. Even with the kids, like I feel bad for the kids. Like, I feel bad for Viv. I feel bad for Vin.
High school already sucks for some people. I don't want to say for everyone, but high school can be very hard for some people. You know what I mean?
For the majority of people, I feel like high school is very hard. But like, the people don't talk about it. But let's be real. High school sucks.
I think the easiest time I had in high school was with you.
Yeah, dude.
Was that continuation school? You know what I mean? That was the easiest time I had in high school, and I felt the most comfortable was there. And then like meeting you and then like that was where I found my comfort. And from there on, I think the rest of high school became easier from there. But yeah, you're right. It's hard in the beginning.
Yeah, high school fucking sucks. This book is basically that. It's fitting in. It's a desire of fitting in. It's a desire for normalcy, and a desire for something better, regardless of how almost impossibly unattainable it is. There's even even during the conversation with at the end with Wanda and Vivian, where they're talking about like, so they basically give their all to no avail. And like this whole, and then Wanda quotes Shakespeare, and it's crazy. This need and desire for a family to be functioning and to be normal. But the thing is like every house is different. There is no normal,
right? Like
regardless of what the superficial view of the world is, of the view the world has on a family. Like you go behind those doors, and it's something else. It's not what you think it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's just not what you think it is. And even right down to this, even right down to a family of synthezoids with all the intelligence in the world, with ultimate power in their at their fingertips. It's not normal. Like they don't even have dinner. They have a recap of the day's events. That's what
I know. I love that, dude. It's so good.
Like, you know what I mean? And I love that too. And then it sucks because it's like Vision doesn't even know what's happening in his own home until it's too late.
Yeah, I know. And it's crazy.
It sucks because I feel like you and I, like when we work in like kitchens like that, like I feel like the time that we spend in kitchens really takes away from time spent in the family because those hours get long, dude.
Oh,
those hours get long.
I remember,
and those hours are awkward. And it's like, what are you missing out on? The good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like Vision doesn't get to understand that until later.
Right, and you see that in terms of him being an Avenger, and right, and like that. I like that you brought that up because that scene where Virginia is trying to get him to be home because she's got to clean up one of her messes, right? I don't want to spoil too much of the minute details in case somebody's read it, but so she's explaining like, but I need you here, right? And it's like, dude, these are synthesoids, but like it's the emotions and feelings between them still feel so real. It doesn't feel like they're robots. It doesn't feel like they're synthesoids. And she's like trying like, well, we need you here too. Even though the world needs you, we need you. And that's such a real thing of any family dynamic in any situation, in any job that anybody has, right? And like I could put myself in that situation of Vision, not saving the world, but like I'm away and I'm needed at home, right? I'm sure you could do the same thing with your wife, right? Or Tom King's doing that because he's away and his family needs him, right? So like that's why the layers of this book are so, to be able to have these characters that are synthesoids, not human, right? But make them so human, and then make this book really about the family dynamic with some other shit that's going on that's not necessarily really normal that would happen in an everyday family, but it really
like phasing through walls.
Yeah, it really makes this story, or a vibranium fucking piano, or a water vase from Zenla. You know what I mean? Like, it's there's just so many cool things in here, but at the heart of it, the family thing and the family relationships are what I like, and I love that he fleshed out each of the family members so well. They each have their own personality, and you get that from the beginning. He doesn't have to like lead into them, so we find out who they are. We know who they are pretty early on, and you become attached to them pretty quickly too, I think.
Yeah. So when I first started reading this, I got very attached to Vin. Right. I got very attached to Vin. I think it was like the fifth or sixth chapter where they quote The Merchant of Venice by Shakespeare, where they talk about but and like it talks about, oh, you hate me for this and you seek vengeance for this, and why? Because I'm a Jew. When they quote,
yes,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, when they quote that part, and then the thing is, it's like you see that and even early on they talk about Viv and Vin talk about whether or not the merchant in The Merchant of Venice is actually the villain in the story, because that's led up for a debate. That's been a long-standing debate. So when they start talking about that and all the events start to happen, and then Vin has this guilt, right, of why do they hate me? Why do they not accept us? And then when Tom King quotes that and puts that into the book, I was just like, yo, damn.
Yeah. No, he's a hell of a writer, dude. It's easy to see why this won an Eisner. It's easy to see why this book really, I would say, elevated him, put him on the map into the A-list. Because I didn't read Vision when he got put on Batman, and I was like, why did they give this dude Batman in Rebirth? Like that was my initial reaction, like, why is he writing Batman? Like, it doesn't make sense. He's not A-list, right? But then you go back and read this, and you're like, okay, I see it. I see exactly why you would give this man Batman ongoing. Like, it's easy to see. And it's easy to see why every book he writes is a hit. I haven't read Rorschach. That's the only thing by him I haven't read. But everything he writes it's absolutely phenomenal. He has a real grasp for the human condition, I would say. I don't know how else to say that, but like he conveys these feelings and emotions through his characters and through his writing that is so natural, doesn't feel forced. And I think anybody can relate to these characters that he's writing, these larger than life characters. I mean, I can relate to a fucking synthesoid robot. You know what I mean? Like, and that's pretty powerful to be able to have your readers connect to all these characters. And
are essentially not even human.
Exactly. And I do want to say before, one of my favorite things that has nothing to do, it's not really a big thing, but I like when Vision brings up the fact that he saved the world 37 times. And then he proceeds, as he's sitting there listening to this principal that's trying to kick his kids out of the school, and he's naming each person that he defeated. You know what I mean? And he's like,
Ultron, like 5 times.
Right. And then he's like, and what I formed the West Coast Avengers, so did every time they saved somebody, would that also count? And he's just like recapping everybody that he's defeated, right? And I thought that was a kind of cool little thing that he did. And he's just like sitting there listening to this fucking principal and not giving a shit really what he's saying. I don't know. I had to bring that up because I really like that. And then I did like that. I don't know if you ever read Runaways. Did you ever read that book?
No.
Okay.
I'm meaning to. It's definitely on my to read.
I think we should put that on our read list as well, because it's been a long time since I've read it. But I like that he brought in Victor Mancha, which we find out in Runaways is another son of Ultron, right?
Yeah.
And I like right, and I like when I never read Avengers AI. And I know they allude to that series in there, but I liked the dynamic of him. Even like he's really only in there pretty briefly, I would say, but
very importantly,
very important. And they make him such a conflicted character too, and like the way they fleshed out his backstory in here too. Again, you don't need any prior knowledge of any of these characters to completely enjoy this story, and to by the end of it, you know who these characters are, without having had to have read all these other stories. Like he does a really good job of doing that. I think he did it well with Mr. Miracle. I think he's doing it good with Strange Adventures. I think he's just really good at like capturing who these characters are and just like giving you everything you need without having to have prior knowledge. And I think that's why he does so well with these 12-issue stories that are character focused on one character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's just a number of things that you can just keep on going on to like say about this. Like, there's a scene where Vision goes into Vivian's room and Viv is praying, right?
Oh my God, yes.
That was like one of my favorite scenes, and it's just like, damn.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Great. And as far as like, gonna go like I said. This is one I don't want to spoil. This is something that that readers have to experience, where she goes in and they pray, and it's this, I don't know, it's this really somber moment of like faith that is just so crazy to me, because throughout the course of my life, personally, like I question faith. I question it throughout the course of my entire life. But then then there are certain moments within one's life where you're just sitting there like, man, I hope for all these things to be true. And then that within all itself, like that gives me the understanding of faith itself. You know what I mean? And then to have a synthezoid give their take on faith and religion and understanding of something of a greater being is like one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever witnessed in comics.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And I think that you're talking about like just what's happening in the scene, but and the somberness of it. But I think that's what's so great about the art in this book is that it has the colors are very muted, right? So it already has this like this overlying like somberness to it, right? Really the whole story, and it just like it really helps elevate the story and give you the emotions, where even if you're not really reading the words, you can get that feeling. And I think that Gabriel Walta, like his facial expressions really convey the characters perfectly as well. Like his eyes, dude, the eyes of his characters, like you can see like in Virginia's eyes when she's set, like when she's doing what she's doing, and like the worry in her eyes or the sadness in her eyes. I would say maybe Vision has the least expressiveness. Like he's like the most, I would say, kind of even keeled emotionally for the most part. I don't think he ever really gets like too like high or low, at least to my memory. But like the kids in
even
Virginia
when he rages, he doesn't have any facial
yeah, he doesn't really seem like he's looking crazy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that.
But Virginia, she runs
Virginia
the gamut
has just
of
like
emotions.
Rage,
the whole range.
Yes, it's
she runs the whole range, and then in that range, you kind of see like, man, she's crazy pants like freaking Wanda.
Yeah, she's nuts.
Like, you know what I mean?
Fucking insane, dude. Yeah, she's fucking crazy.
But also that insanity came from a place of love, though.
Yeah, but I love too. Like she seems like she's like really weird when like she opens a door and the neighbor comes, the one that gave her the cookies, and and the house is destroyed, and she's like, well, it's and she talks about, well, they say you have to like break everything down when you want to build something new, and she's like all like super calm as she's like talking about it. I'm just like, dude, it looks like a fucking bomb went off in here. And she just like perfectly brings her. It's just like those little moments with her, like where she's like, again, trying to act normal, right? They're just trying.
She's trying to be a Stepford wife, but she's
exactly. I love Viv too. I mean, I don't want to like get into like the ending of it, but I do like that the very end of it and where the family ends up. While there's some sadness, I did like. I think it was a good ending. And I think that it foretells something that is kind of interesting and cool. And like we see Viv eventually becomes a part of the Champions. I mean, that's no spoiler, right? Like she's in Champions. I think she might be in the new series. I know she was when they first launched it with like Miles and Ms. Marvel and Nova and stuff like that.
I don't know. I haven't, because they're outlawed now, right? The Champions.
Yeah, but I think Viv is still around.
Yeah, Viv, nothing has happened to Viv. I think that's a wasted opportunity. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened within Champions or whether or not like her role is a focal point at any point. I think if not, it's a wasted opportunity because Vivian is definitely a very multi-layered character that you could really expand upon.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just so much sadness. So much sadness.
I know. It doesn't. You don't end the book happy, and you don't end it sad.
But I think you end the book changed.
Yes.
Because like I said, like last time I read this was a year ago, and I thought it was great. Don't get me wrong, but like now at this point in time in my life, where I am in my life, like it definitely has me thinking about things differently.
Right, and I think if and when you have a kid and you become a dad, I think when you read it, you too will have a different feeling of it, because like the feeling that I got the first time and this time, right, is like you'll do anything to protect your kids also, right? And like sometimes you do stuff that's not necessarily the right thing to do, but like you can be blinded
at the time.
Right, but I wouldn't say blinded by your love, but your love for your children is so strong that like the number one thing is that you want to protect your kid. That's your number one job. You want to protect them because you love them more than anything, right? And that's evident throughout this book too. It's like, well, especially Virginia, right? And I think that once you become a parent and you read it, I think the thing is I can't explain it to you because like you're not a parent. Yeah. But I think once you're a parent, you'll understand. It's just hard for me to put into words. It's like there's something that switches in you once you become a dad, right, or a mom. But I'm speaking to you, so as a dad, the minute you look in that baby's eyes, right, like your life is different. Your life has changed, and I think being a parent adds to the layers of the book that I don't want to say you can't get, but you don't fully understand unless you're a parent, is what I'm trying to say. But like, so I can't wait for you once you're a dad, because your life just completely changes. It's not once your lady becomes pregnant. It's once that baby is born and you look into their eyes, your life is different from there on out, and your whole not reason for a living, but one of your main reasons for a living is completely about protecting that kid, being there for that kid, and making sure they have everything they need to be okay, right? Yeah. And that's what we see with Virginia. We see with Vision, and it's a beautiful thing.
It's such a great thing. I can't stress enough. Like this literally might be one of my favorite books of all time. Like I cannot stress enough. If you read comics, this is definitely one of the essential reads of all time.
Agreed.
There's no question about it. There's no question about it. Like I have yet to meet a single person who was like, "No, I didn't like Vision." I've met people who was like, "No, I didn't like Mr. Miracle." I met a few people. I met a few people who was like, "No, I didn't like Tom King's Batman." I met a few people.
Yeah, I can understand the Batman thing. The Batman thing makes sense.
I can understand Mr. Miracle too.
Mr. Miracle, I can see it's not for everyone. I can see that it's not for everyone. I think Vision should be considered in the same breath for like a perennial comic book story as Dark Knight Returns, as Watchmen. And I know that that's like putting it in like high regard, but that's just how I feel. I feel like this should be one of Marvel's perennials that is always in print and never goes out of print. And I say that because Marvel tends to fucking put stuff out of print. And I don't understand why. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man is not in print. I think that should always be in print as well. But I think Vision, it's a complete story. It's not really tied into anything else. And anybody can pick it up and read it. Like I keep saying, without prior knowledge. And that's why it works so well.
Remember how we were talking a couple of weeks ago, how we were talking about how Marvel should put out like a Marvel Masterpiece series? This should be one of the Marvel Masterpiece series. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of like how DC does absolutes. It merits its own Marvel version of an absolute. Like
I agree, yeah.
Even in the deluxe version itself, like the tail end of it is literally just script.
Half of it.
Yeah, half of it
half
is literally
of the book.
Script,
process pages, everything. Like this is what you want in a hardcover.
Yeah,
it's funny. I was just telling my brother last night too. When I buy a hardcover, I don't just want the story. You know what I mean? Like. It's like when you buy a Blu-ray, right, or a DVD. Like you want the special, you get it not just for the film, but that's usually people that want to watch special features, the behind-the-scenes stuff, the process of making the film, the bloopers, exactly. So that's why, like, when I bought this, I didn't realize that there was this much bonus material. That's what I don't like about my Mr. Miracle. I have the first generation hardcover of Mr. Miracle, so I don't have any back matter in mind. You have the new one. So you have all the
extras. I have both.
You have both?
Yeah,
okay.
But I got this one because, let's be real here. This is fantastic.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, but that's like my major gripe with the first version of the hardcover. Like they didn't put any bonus material in it. And that's what I love about like the Vision hardcover. And I don't know if it's still in print or not, but if it is, anybody listening, man, if you're going to pick up this book, this is the version to pick up. It's a beautiful package. Especially for people that like process and stuff and script and like they even have the letters pages from the fucking single issues, like,
and then it has the list of names for Sparky.
Yeah, I know. I love that, dude.
Like
that's another thing.
It's literally a whole page of small print of how many different names they're trying to come up with
for the synthesoid dog.
For the synthesoid dog.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like if you and I were ever to write a comic and there's an animal in it, that's what I would do. Like, here, we'd name it this, we'd name it this.
I can't say enough good things about the book. I don't think I could ever do it justice in describing it. I think that
it's an experience. You just have to experience it.
Yeah, I think that if anybody's like I said, if anyone's on the fence about reading this book, man, read the book. Don't be on the fence anymore. Don't be like Dylan and I. We were late to the party. I took a while, even after I knew that Tom King was a good writer because I had started reading his other stuff. This is his best work, I believe. I truly believe that. I think this is
I agree.
This is his as a writer. This is his Dark Knight Returns. This is his Watchmen. You know, like if you talk about Frank Miller or Alan Moore, I think those are their best works. Watchmen for Alan Moore, Dark Knight Returns for Frank Miller. I guess you could argue Frank Miller's Daredevil, but that's a run that's it's not all done by him. So and he jumps back and forth. But anyways, one of Marvel's best books of the last 30 years. Right. I'll go back 30 years. I'll go back 30 years.
I agree.
Because,
I agree. I
100%
agree.
Yeah, I mean, you could even probably go further back, honestly, because I'm going back to 1990 at this point, or I'm going back to 91. Let's say I'll say 4 years. Fuck that. I'll go back to the 80s. Like this is, like it says on the cover, a comic book masterpiece. That's a quote from the New York Times. That's high praise. There's a reason it's universally loved. There's a reason that it's been. I mean, like you have quotes from Brad Meltzer. You have quote from Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I mean, Brian K. Vaughan says the new Vision by Tom King is exactly what is as great as everyone says. You know, like this is like I said, this is essential reading, and it doesn't really like have a ripple effect on anything like as far as the rest of the Marvel universe goes, but it will have a ripple effect on you.
Exactly, and that's the testament of a good book, though. It doesn't need to have a ripple effect. Dark Knight Returns, I would say, had a ripple effect over comic books in general, not necessarily within the universe. Same thing with Watchmen, right? But I think Vision did have a ripple effect, not in terms of the Marvel universe, but in terms of how people looked at how to make a comic book within the superhero genre,
or how people outside of comic books who don't really read comic books look at comic books.
Like this is a book like we could recommend Jen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jen, hope you're listening. This is on the list.
Yeah.
This is on the list. You got to read it. It's and the thing is, and that's one of her major gripes is that you have to have an expansive knowledge of these characters prior to. But no, like you said, everything you need to know is here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything you need to know. You know, like I said, Vision. I didn't know shit about Vision. This is what makes me very excited for the WandaVision show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have no idea what's going to happen. You know,
I have no
idea what's going to go.
But it looks
you know what I mean? It's an amalgam of multiple stories.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Complete 100% amalgam of multiple stories. And, you know, from what little we did see, like, I'm already excited for it because the babies are there. What? And we all know what happens when and as far as Marvel fans go, we all know what happens when Wanda loses the babies. Like, like
I know. I can't wait for this show, dude. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Everyone read.
Everybody got to read it. Yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, like we can't. Well, I feel like we're beating a dead horse.
Yeah,
just saying how great it is.
Yeah.
So
before we get out of here, though, you want to talk about what you are excited to pick up this week?
Well, the Sword #2 comes out. I'm excited for that, but I'm not going to read it because I know nothing new. But Dark Detective Future State.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, we're excited for the Future State books. Dark Knight, Justice League Teen Titans, I'm excited for too. New issue of Immortal Hulk, which I'm excited for always every time that comes out. Another issue of Amazing Spider-Man, which is really annoying. That's the third one in 3 weeks. I don't understand why it's coming out every fucking week, but whatever. It actually has been really good. I don't understand the hype of that speculated book. I did read 55, unless it's just about the cover. Unless it's just for the cover, which makes sense because, like, the minute I saw that cover, I was like, Nick, if that's an incentive cover, I don't care. I want that. I want that cover.
Yeah.
Like that's a dope cover.
Yeah, that Patrick Gleason cover was
right.
tops.
So, but I don't get what the hype was. I don't
looking at the Patrick Gleason cover. Like I remember when he first released that it was coming out. Right, I was looking at it. I was just like, in Spider-Man's complete illustrious history of awesome iconic covers, how come no one ever thought to draw him as Spiderwebs? Like, I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. But I'm like, damn, that's dope.
It is. It's really dope. And even the second print in red is pretty cool too. Yeah. But yeah, and then I think what else? The new issue of Darth Vader's coming out. I'm gonna read that. Darth Vader's been pretty cool. Savage Dragon, because I hopped back on that Savage Dragon train and I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it, dude. Eric Larson still puts out a hell of a fucking comic book, dude. Yeah. And he's back on a monthly schedule too, which is nice. So
you know which one of the future state titles I'm really excited for? Wonder Woman and Superman, dude.
Oh, I'm not reading that. Who's writing that?
Dan Waters.
Okay.
Lila Del Duca. Lila Del Duca is doing the art. I think it's just a single story too.
Yeah, I think so.
There's that.
I mean, I'll read it. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like looking forward to it. I kind of am intrigued by the Robin Eternal as well. I feel like we're just talking future state books now.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's so much of it coming out, but like, yeah, I don't think it's not. I wouldn't say it's a super huge week for like non. I know Seven Secrets is coming out. I know you're reading that.
Seven Secrets is coming out.
I kind of want to check out that
American Vampire.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna trade weight now because I realized I'm like I don't have any of the singles. I have all the hardcovers from the original run. So I'm like, why am I gonna have this in single issue now? It makes absolutely no sense. When this is the end too. It's like this is the end of it. It's a 6-issue thing. So I'm just gonna get the hardcover when it comes out. But yeah,
I mean. As far as the indie stuff goes, it's not really
small,
anything like. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the indie train stuff isn't going to pick up until like spring.
I agree. Yeah, I was looking at the previews catalog for stuff coming out in March. A lot of cool stuff. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming out.
I mean, there's a new Marauders coming out, but I still got to catch up. Like, oh, by the way, the pre X of Swords stuff. I'm sold. I'm ready for it. I'm gonna try to plow through a lot of X of Swords this week. Oh, also, as far as what I'm excited for this week, I picked this up. It's Battle Angel Alita, and it's one of the hardcovers, right? And this is like by far one of my favorite mangas, but I've only read it digitally. And when you read the manga digitally, like it doesn't come with all the extra stuff, like extra art and stuff. But this version of it, look at this shit. Look how beautiful this shit is.
Oh wow. Oh, that's dope, dude.
This is like, I don't get into a lot of cyberpunk stuff. I don't know, like something, I don't know. I mean, granted, superhero stuff isn't very realistic, but to me, cyberpunk stuff isn't very realistic. Like, even more not realistic. Yeah. But this is like one of my more like perennial stuff. This is like one of the first mangas I ever read when I was younger. And I read it, like I said, I read it digitally. So meaning I was online reading pages of it on like on my big ass non-flat screen Dell computer.
Oh man, I hated those monitors, dude. I hated those things. They're so fucking heavy, and they fucking were in the way on the desk. Oh man, we gotta. Speaking of manga, we should do a manga.
I'm super down for that too.
Yeah,
I'm super down for that. But yeah, as far as like next week goes, that's all I'm pretty much excited for.
All right, well that's all I got. Well, if you're not already following us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. You can follow Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Make sure you throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can also email us at thecomicloungepod@gmail.com, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.